Hilary, we've had so many questions online with the announcement of the launch of the Loyal Lash Mascara and Loving Lash Primer. So we've compiled a list of our favourite questions from our amazing community. First off, are these products okay for use on sensitive eyes?
We have thoroughly tested this in a testing group. Not only have I had this formulation for a year, I've been testing it, but we've also had a testing group of 20 people over the space of 4 weeks to ensure that we're getting the results that we want, to make sure it was the right formula to put to market. Over that testing group, not one person had any issues with sensitivities. We also developed it with the primer, which will really help stop any issues with sensitivities because it's creating a barrier around your lash. But also the tubular formulation of the mascara is actually a formulation that's known for people with sensitivities that really helps with that, because it's not going to be actually putting a pigment onto your lashes. Instead, it's a fiber. It means it's going to be more of a barrier between your eye and your lashes, so you won't get that diffusion of pigment through your eye, which causes the irritation.
Sounds amazing. Now, what about waterproof versus tubular? Can you tell me about that?
It's a very good question, and one that I'm happy to explore for both a professional and a personal use. Professionally, I had to, before tubular arrived, use a waterproof mascara because in conditions of tears, aka wedding ceremonies, funerals, good time celebrations, you needed something that you knew that you could have water around your eye, whether it was even a shoot when it was out in the rain. You wanted to make sure that you prevented any transfer. But the issue personally with waterproof, and I always was conscious around this with my clients, is that trying to remove a waterproof mascara is the worst job in the world. So we knew that waterproof wasn't something we wanted to promote straight away. And that's where tubular stepped into the market a few years ago and has really revolutionized the way that pigment sits on your lashes. So waterproof is like sticky glue, and essentially it's still the same formulation as a traditional mascara, where it's essentially like paint that you're putting and layering on your lashes, where a tubular mascara, and the reason why you're not having any fallout and it's way more waterproof, is because it's putting a fiber on your lash, which means when you apply heat, oil or water to your lashes, the fiber won't break down the way the pigment of a normal traditional waterproof or traditional mascara would.
Amazing. Speaking of removing waterproof mascara, how do I remove my tubular mascara?
It's a very good question. It took me a while to figure this out when it first hit the market as well, because it's not the usual removal. So essentially what you want to remember, it's called tubular for a reason. It is encasing your follicles and your hair in a tube. So if you're trying to wipe it side to side like this, the tube is just getting moved around like that. What you want to be doing is remembering, how would you remove a tube? So you need to be pulling it off. So what we want to be doing is applying our cleanser onto our eyes. I use an oil-based one that works for me. You can use whatever works for you. You can either use a traditional actual cleanser, or you can use a eye makeup remover, whatever works. But it's more in the action of removal that will help you the most. And what you want to be doing is wiping down. You want to be pulling the tube off. And the wonderful thing is you're not going to get the stinging on your eye, because again, you're not going to have the sensitivities of a traditional mascara. So you can really work it down and out, and you're not going to have any of the issues that you would have traditionally. So it's a really easy removal system, and you won't have black panda eyes after.
We are definitely going to have to get a tutorial from you. That's for sure.
That would be hilarious.
Does the tubular mascara flake off? I have this problem with my current tubular.
So if we remember how a traditional mascara is made, it's like paint being applied to lashes, and tubes are different because they're applying fibers to encase and create an actual like wall or a seal. The wonderful thing is you're not going to get that much flaking because it's creating a different component of structure around the lash. So you will get more flaking off a tubular than you would a traditional mascara, because again, remember, one's more like wet, muddy paint that dries, and the other is fibers. But with our mascara, we've done a lot of work around the flaking of this formulation, and that doesn't happen. So you will find that you won't get much flaking at all. You will find as an overall that flaking occurs a little bit more with a tubular than it does with a traditional mascara, but that depends on the formulation. With our formulation, we are really proud that in our testing group, no one got any flaking.
You've sold me.
You work here, so you get it for free.
So tell me, Hilary, could I wear a primer without the mascara, or the mascara without the primer?
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. So the primer is a little bit different to a traditional lash primer, and the reason why it is because a lot of lash primers can add a lot of bulk to your lashes, which that's the point. is to really build up the volume of the lash. I always found it interesting though that when I was using a couple of formulations, and a majority of them, that it made my lashes really clumpy straight away, because again, if that volume was its purpose, it made my lashes too voluminous and too clumpy. I didn't want to get that from our formulation. I wanted to get definite length, curl and volume, but I didn't want it to be heavy or cakey or too much. With this formulation, you'll notice when you use the lash primer by itself, it doesn't look very obvious on the lashes, which is great. So you can wear it by itself. It gives a really lovely light indigo hint to the lashes if you like a colored mascara, but it's a very subtle application, so you won't see a lot of bulk on the actual lashes. And absolutely, not everyone, and I'll be hands down honest, no other brands will do this, not everyone's going to love using the primer with the mascara. Some people already have really voluminous lashes, so you don't need any extra volume, you just need to get more definition, more length and curl. If that's your aim, then use the mascara by itself. The primer is there essentially for those that don't have very good lashes to build out a mascara on. So that's why I've always personally used one, because I've got very fine, very thin and very short lashes. So primers work for me. Primers aren't going to work for everyone. So definitely it's a trial situation. We're more than happy for you to come in and try it with us in our South Melbourne studio. Mascara definitely by itself is easier to remove. The primer definitely holds more grip. It's definitely great if you are one of those people that really gets bad transfer. The primer will really help with that. But if you're looking for an easy mascara application and you don't need a lot of extra help when it comes to volume, length or curl, then absolutely the mascara is amazing. By itself, it does definitely enhance your lashes and it does give a lot more volume, length and curl, but I'm just saying in comparison to the primer, it's a little bit more natural and a bit more supportive of your natural lash.
I know you're going to put some tutorials together for us, but can you tell us about application? Should we be waiting for the primer to dry before applying the mascara?
Great question. So it depends. It depends on how you want to do it. So how I apply it on myself, and the reason why I say apply on myself is because I've been pretty transparent in my communications that I wouldn't necessarily use a primer on any of my clients that I would do fake lashes on, because you don't necessarily need too much volume on the lash if you're getting it through fake lashes. So it's more about a personal conversation about self-application for me, because I understand what I would need to do in your case as well. So personally for me, I have very thin, short lashes. So I actually need to do 2 coats of primer before I go into the mascara. If you're wanting a really natural sort of build out from the primer, just do 1 coat. So personally how I apply is I put on 1 coat, I go to the next lash, I come back immediately to the second and do 2 coats. I don't do any waiting in between it. It's just more the pause of going to the other eye that gives me enough time to go back to the first lash. And then I don't wait to go into the mascara. By the time I put the lid on, pick it up, I can go straight into it and there is no problems. I do think that if you're going like quite literally like that and going straight into mascara, you will get a blending of the primer and the lash mascara, but I don't think anyone's applying it that way, so you'll be fine to apply the way you would normally.
Are you thinking of adding a brown shade in the future?
Absolutely. Like there's so many things that we want to do in the future, and I think it's really worth to note to answer that question I need to explain why we've launched these 2 products first. And the reason we've launched these 2 products first is the Loyal Lash Mascara is the most all-rounder mascara you can get. It's the one that you can rely on the most. It's going to give you great length, curl and volume, but it's not going to be super volumizing, and it's not going to be super curling. It's just a really amazing all-rounder mascara. And the primer, I can't launch a mascara without doing the primer, because if you've followed me for long enough, you know I've used a primer with my own self-application for the past 5 years. So it would absolutely make sense to me. If I'm talking to the everyday person, I would want you to do the combinations that I know are trusted and something that I do for myself. So coming back to brown shade, absolutely. We will be offering different mascaras in the future, one that's probably more volumizing, one, there's different ones, and because out of everything that we're developing at Home Beauty, mascaras are probably the thing that we have to speak very uniquely to. If you think about, if you ask 10 of your friends who uses the same shampoo and conditioner combination, it's very rare that anyone would do the same ones, because your actual hair is really unique to you. And that's why we've gone for a generic, really great all-rounder mascara, because once we go into volumizing, that's not going to work for everyone. And we go for a more defining one, that's not going to work for everyone. So mascaras are the same as your shampoo. It's going to be unique to you, and we're really excited this is our offering to start with. But absolutely, we'll be building out the mascara range for sure. And if Shani has anything to do with it, we'll be doing a brown mascara pretty quickly.
Woohoo! I've got you. Lucky last question. The people are dying to know. is there going to be stock when we're in Queensland?
Oh, yes, of course. That's why we worked it with the Queensland crew that we were going to be launching around our holiday period, which is sort of towards the end of October. And we're launching the mascaras at the end of September. So we're going to have stock for a whole month before we even come up. So we are going to have every single thing that we have got to market and is on our offering and is out there. Everything's coming to Queensland. So don't worry, Queensland, we're looking after you. It's going to be a really fun masterclass, and all the products used and that we offer will be there for you to purchase and play with. I really appreciate and value your questions because this conversation is really important. I'm here to empower you with the knowledge that no one ever has, and I'm excited to talk about things because I'm passionate about it. We are always here to listen to your questions and support you with those answers, and I hope that our transparency enables you and empowers you to make the right decision for you. So thank you for sending them through.